GameJam, and today I am bringing back my guest, Mark B. Writing of Die Hard Game Fan. He is also the co-host of our show, GVN Live. How are you tonight, sir?
I'm Jim Dandy. How are you?
I'm fantabulous. And last week we did our back-to-back shows of GVN Live. And you just recently also made an announcement along with retweeting tonight's show. Would you like to go ahead and make that announcement?
I'm going to talk shit at you while you play this game.
Well, there's there's always that. I mean, you decided
if you're talking about the podcast thing, I still have to record a couple more episodes, but I'm going to try to bring it back sooner rather than later.
Oh, well.
Probably in like the next week or two.
Oh, I was referring to the fact that you're...
Yeah, I'm getting there. Don't fucking rush me, bro.
No. I know you didn't want to talk about the podcast yet because of the more recordings you wanted to do.
Yeah, I'm also going to be starting up my live streaming officially, good and proper, probably March 25th, Saturday. I don't have a time frame set yet, probably going to start around like 8 o'clock. But I'm going to be starting with the game I said I was going to start with when other people were asking me about it, which is going to be Mass Effect Andromeda.
Whee! That'll be fun to watch.
It'll be interesting. Beyond that, I might do like a smaller one just to kind of like get back into the swing of things, more or less. Mm-hmm. But otherwise, that's pretty much about it.
Alrighty. So, anyway, tonight's game is a underrated classic. It's one of our favorite RPGs from the late 90s. That's Lunar 2 Eternal Blue Complete. I have finished the Sega CD version, but I did not make it that far in the PlayStation 1 version. And, of course, I also have the Sega Saturn version downstairs somewhere. But... you've actually completed the PlayStation version, not the Sega CD version. But so what is it about Lunar 2 that has captivated you? What you even said it has the best villain out of all RPGs, I believe.
No, Lunar 1 has the best villain out of RPGs.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Lunar 2, I'm going to be 100% honest. I am fine with it. It is not my favorite game. I wouldn't necessarily put it in my top 10, so to say. Silver Star Story is fantastic. Eternal Blue, I have issues with. Mechanically, structurally, visually, it's great. Balancing-wise, the Sega CD version is dog shit. The Borgen fight, I know a lot of people who actively hate the game for that alone.
That was a nightmare in and of itself on the Sega CD version.
Yeah, PlayStation, the PlayStation version, I think is pretty well balanced out. Beyond that, I just, I don't feel like the way that they have the boss set up here, and we'll probably get to that sooner rather than later in playing this, is not something I'm super agreeable with.
So what do you think? On the Sega CD versions, they were traditionally using hand-drawn animation to some extent, and here they are incorporating a lot of CG, hand-drawn animation over CG. What do you think of that? This is about the same time when a lot of animes in the late 90s, early 2000s were incorporating this effect. What were your thoughts?
It kind of is obvious now. If we go back and look at it, it generally tends to not look so good. Here, I don't think it's offensive. When they incorporate it occasionally in the cutscenes and whatnot. But for the most part, you can, some developers, I think, planned in a way so that if they were going to use those effects, it wouldn't be as obvious or as much of a problem. Yeah. In general, I feel like it was good for advancing the genre, but time has not been kind to that.
So, now, what about character development in the game that you did not like? Like, I mean, it pretty much really does come down to, like, the character development. In my opinion, I thought the Sega CD version, at least, I don't know what they added in the PlayStation 1 version, but the Sega CD version I thought had some decent character development, minus the Borgen fight. But it seems like everybody had, like, really deep convictions, very good, well, minus a couple of really bad voice acting in some parts, mostly on the character of Lucia right here. But what was your take on the characters?
Outside of Lucia and Galleon, who pops back up in this game, I really don't remember most of them.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, I feel like kind of underscores the point that, like, it's not one of my favorite games. Like, the main character isn't as memorable here as he was in Silver Star Story. Just a lot of the secondary characters aren't super memorable.
Yeah. I do know that some of the characters, like from the first game, make cameos. Like we just touched on, Galleon makes a return, but for a very brief cameo. Doesn't really set the pace or anything. He's just there, which is kind of undercutting to the character that he was in the very first game.
They do a little bit with him here, but the problem is the Galleon as a character was fully formed by the end of Silver Star Story. So, like, there wasn't anywhere to go with that character in a sequel. Like, there just wasn't. You know, like, you weren't going to do... Like, the most that they try to do is kind of sort of a redemptive arc, which I don't hate, but, like, that's as far as you are going to get with that character in any capacity.
Yeah.
There's nothing else to really be done with him on the whole.
Yeah. Now, other character cameos include Null, who manages to not only get a full-sized dragon form, but he is now able to transform into a human, but mostly like a human kid form, which is kind of weird at the same time. You'd think he'd at least turn into an adult, you know, given how old he is and considering how long, how much time has passed between the two games.
I mean, I guess, but we don't really know exactly how long-lived dragons are, relatively speaking, in this universe. I mean, the dragons in Silver Star Story are supposedly, like, incredibly long-lived. So, in this game, you know, even with the time that's elapsed, there's no guarantee that he's still not emotionally a kid.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, for all we know, it could take thousands of years to get to a point where you age out of, like, your teenage years, you know?
Yeah.
So it's, like, the game... The problem, I feel, with the Lunar franchise as a whole is that Lunar is a great self-contained story. It really is. And Lunar Eternal Blue kind of, sort of, establishes a certain relationship in its own universe, such that, you know, it can build off of it, and you can ask more questions, and you can develop more relationships. And none of the games they've come out with since then have done anything with that.
Mm-hmm. It's funny. What is this game rated? Rated T for teen, because, you know, we're about to see a world getting bloodied up and ripped apart, and we see Lucia naked for at least a good portion of the game.
Yeah, but she has no nipples, so it's okay.
Yeah, that is true. But at the same time, they show those features. I think Eternal Blue came out before ESRB did on the Sega CD.
Yes.
And I believe it got a general audience rating of GA13. And even after they show the... and in my opinion, the Sega CD intro was a little bit more graphic with how they did the ripping apart of the planet of Lunar, and, you know, Lucia walking around all naked and stuff like that. I mean, you saw a lot more than you did in this intro right here, to be honest.
Yeah, but I mean, it was a different time.
Yeah.
Also, it's worth noting that animated stuff like this is generally going to be given a little bit more leeway than non-animated stuff, I think.
Yeah. Now, we're about to start the game here. We're going to get a little internal monologue from our main character, Ryu, which is kind of like an overused name, I guess, in the 90s when it came to, like, hero or main characters or something like that. I mean, we had Ryu from Street Fighter. We had Ryo, which is kind of a knockoff from Art of Fighting. We have Ryu
Ruby, did you say something?
right here from Lunar. We had another Ryu in Breath of Fire. In fact, he's in every installment of Breath of Fire.
Oh, great. Don't tell me you're hearing voices
What would you
now.
say? Would that be
I'm
like
sure
one of the
I heard
most
something.
overused names in the 90s?
I should have brought Grandpa's chisel.
Yeah,
way
I
harder.
kind of feel like,
Hurry
because a
up
lot
and
of
get
these
the
names
dragon's
were,
eye. The timer's
I
almost
feel
run
more
out
than a
of
few of
time.
these names were changed after the fact, just because, like, in the 90s, we were comfortable enough with the idea of Japanese stuff in our games that we would play, anime-inspired games, but not at the point where it was like, you know, we had entire
Why didn't you tell
codges
me
of
about
people
that
screaming that
earlier?
they wouldn't buy a
I
fucking game
did,
if it
but you were
wasn't
too wrapped up
subtitled
in
with
getting the
Japanese
jewel to
dialogue.
listen.
Oh yeah, the
So
jewel.
they would
Hold
just
on, I've
pick the
almost
name
got it.
that people were most familiar
Hurry,
with.
hero.
Yeah. All right, so here we go. And there's a funny thing in regards to the jewel that he is taking in the from this statue, which is kind of hilarious, and it leads into the monologue,
What's
coincidentally, or
that
the epilogue.
Oh
coincidentally.
no! The exit's closing. Hurry!
Did you actually now this? I don't know. I don't know anything about the ending for the PlayStation version, but how does it go? Does it end abruptly and then it gives you an epilogue chapter, or does it continue
Yes.
on? Oh, it
Yes.
does?
No, it holds on to the same thing the Sega CD game did. The epilogue chapter is fairly lengthy,
Oh, hero.
but yeah, no, it totally
Don't
does
die
that.
on
It
me.
keeps that intact.
Yeah.
You just
I really
can't
enjoyed
die.
the epilogue chapter, to be truthfully honest. It was pretty good. It just pissed me off when you regathered the entire party only to go
okay,
into the
Ruby.
final tower,
It's just a
and
few
suddenly, yeah. By the way,
bruises.
spoiler warnings,
Okay,
in
that's
case
good.
people are interested in picking
No
this
more
up. I'm sure it's on the
exploring for us.
PlayStation Store.
I can't do this
But,
anymore, hero.
I don't think it is.
Always
It
entertaining
isn't?
in some
That
sort
would
of
be
think so.
shocking. Well,
Ruby.
yeah.
Well, no, it wouldn't be that shocking. Who would own the rights to it at this point?
What?
That is true. Working Designs is not around anymore. I guess it would. I guess it would be Sony who would get it by default for North American publishment for publishing.
Nope. Somebody would actually need to buy that license.
Well, actually, no. It would be
Looks like you caught us in another messy situation.
brought over
by the way,
Dragon's Song.
if
I
you
think
haven't
they would
figured it
probably
out,
have the rights.
My name is Hero.
No,
And the
it's
black
you only
cat
have
is named Ruby.
the rights to the games that you
She
license,
says
except
she's
in certain
actually a baby
specific
red dragon,
circumstances.
but I don't know if I quite believe
But to
her.
answer your
She
question,
doesn't care,
most
though.
likely the person
We've
who would
been
have
friends
something
for
to
what
do with
seems
that
like
would be
forever.
Exceed, because they own the rights to Silver Star Harmony for the PlayStation Portable.
Okay.
However, no, outside of Silver Star Harmony, you
My
cannot
grandfather
get
Gwen
the
is an
game
archaeologist who taught us how
for
to explore ancient ruins like
the console.
this.
That's
Well,
a
or
shame.
for
Not
PSN.
exactly like this.
It is,
Grandpa
but
would have a coronary if he saw
you
me in
know,
this kind of danger. But
by the
you
same
get the
token,
idea. I
it's
think it's so cool.
you would have
these
to
dungeons and
actually
ruins that
own
time
the
forgot
translation
can
or
be
do
found
your
and
own.
explored by someone like me.
Gotcha.
Like you would have to basically either buy all of the assets of Working Designs, which I don't
The
think
world
anybody
I live in
did,
today is the
or
result
you
of
would have
things that
to
happened
actively
long ago.
translate
Someday,
a
I'll gather
2-decade-old
enough
game.
information from ruins
And
like
no.
these to prove
God,
that.
it's been. When did this come out? This was like 97, I want to say.
Sega CD version? I think it came out close to 2000.
No, I'm talking about specifically the
PlayStation version, right?
yeah,
PlayStation.
specifically the PlayStation version.
I think it came out like 98, 99.
Oh.
I remember getting it like in 2000, 2001 for a decent price.
Yeah, the original one was 94. When did they? 98. Okay, yeah. So 98, 2000, 98, 2000. Okay, so yeah, it's not quite 2 decades old at this point.
It's
So-
close enough though, right?
Yeah, like who would you even contact at this point about buying the rights? What are you gonna do? Just call Vic Ireland up on the phone? Be like, yo, all that shit you made for the fucking Sega CD and the PlayStation, yeah, I want to buy that from you. Yeah, I'm sure that'll go over real well.
Yeah, I mean, considering how pissed off Victor Ireland is at Sony for the way they pretty much, I guess you could say, treated him and his company. I mean, it was almost pretty bad when. Here's an interesting thing that's not in the Sega CD version. These statues weren't really littered all over the place. Healing statues, save statues. On top of that, Sega CD version was random encounters. Here, you can actually see them and just run into them. or avoid them, depending on the enemy that you come across.
Yeah, the aesthetics were a lot different between the games too, as I remember. But yeah, like, I don't even think Sony would try to buy this, to be honest. Most likely it would probably be a company like XC that would be like, hey, we want to release this game. And I feel like that's honestly kind of the problem, just in general, with the whole re-releasing of old games on... Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah, that I forgot that.
You're gonna have to grind here for a while.
Oh yeah.
But I feel like that's the major problem with the whole game stores set up to hold older games thing is, what do you do if a game no longer has, excuse me, an active owner in the world of game development? Like, you know, what do you do with all of the Acclaim games? Like, some of those licenses were bought, others were just left defunct with the developer. What would you, like, where would you even begin on trying to get, like, some games that weren't published by their developer?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, again, like, some games it's not a big deal. Like, even if we don't know who the owner is, like, even if the owner is no longer alive, you can still get them published. Like, the old Clock Towers could easily be published because Capcom owns that license. But other stuff from Human that was published by, like, dead developers, where do you even begin there? If, like, here's another thing. If, what's the name of the company? Can't think of the name of the company. I'll have to look it up real quick.
What games did they do?
Every From Software game for like 10 years.
The games that's From Software published or
developed. From Software did not have isn't really a publisher in general. They're just a dev mostly. They have other people publish their stuff. Hold on, I'll have it. Sony Computer. Yeah, that's not correct. Good job, Wikipedia. That's wrong. Age Tech. There we go. If Age Tech went out of business, I don't know how you would even begin to publish the US versions of the Armored Core games. Because, like, Age Tech still exists at this point, barely, but they've mostly been outside of a couple of games that, you know, nobody has played at all. All they really seem to be doing is releasing the English versions of the Armored Core games and whatnot onto the PSN store. But if they went out of business, all of the Armored Cores that they translated would be just fucking gone. Because, like, who's going to buy that off of them at that point?
Oops. Do that? I forgot it saves the handle it was last. That was a waste of honor. Land sharks, such an original concept. But these ones look more like dolphins.
Avon calling.
Wow, he dodged me. Holy crap. In this game, I really like how, it's Ruby, right? The name of the his dragon?
I believe so.
I believe so. She's a hell of a lot more useful in here than Null was. Null was
well,
like...
They have it situated, she kind of has to be.
Yeah. Look at that. Several attacks already in a row, which is really nice. I think Null maybe once in a blue moon might actually attack, but I think it was more of a counterattack towards the enemy, like it was randomly generated or something like that. I don't think there was like any statistic that went into it. He just did it whenever he felt like it. So yeah, another big change, of course, was that from this and the Sega CD version, we have action zones as opposed to, like, you know, running around on the world map. Which they actually made the world map, I think, in this game a little bit smaller just to accommodate all those action zones. Graphics do look really nice. They do take advantage of the PlayStation and Saturn's hardware, although the Saturn version looks a lot better. It's a shame that that Vic Ireland was not able to bring it over for the Sega Saturn because of politics.
Yeah, though, honestly, I feel like it would probably just mean that the game was further lost to groups of people.
Good night, honey. Yeah. Makes me wonder, though, if, like, let's say I would you know, my dream interview would be to be Victor Ireland. To get him on the show and just talk to him and say, yo, dog, what the hell happened? Why was Sony and Bernie Stoller just, you know, blocking you left and right?
I can definitely appreciate that, though I kind of wonder if that part of his life isn't just done with now.
Like, he just wants to move on and not be associated with, like, the 90s?
Kinda, yeah.
At the same time, you know what? Whatever happened with him and his other gaming company, Gaijin Works? Like, I really don't think I've ever heard a peep out of them. Ever since they were established in, what, like 2004? 2005?
I mean, I don't really feel like this is a particularly big secret or anything, but I kind of feel like maybe he's not a particularly good businessman. That might just be me. I might just be extrapolating, but I feel like that's an important possibility.
Yeah.
And because of that, I feel like maybe they just went out of business.
What are you doing in this area?
Who does this joker think he is?
My name is Hero, and this is Ruby. Identify yourself.
Oh, his name is Hero, not Ryu. Okay, I feel like an idiot now.
And this is the dragon ship Destiny.
So then why did I think there was a Ryu in the Lunar games? Is there a guy that is named Ryu that I just don't remember? He's like a one-off, like, secondary character or something like that. I can't remember now. Oh, according to GameJam Cloud, Gaijin Works is still going.
Yeah, I just saw that.
Yep.
They have a website. PlayStation. Oh, they have PlayStation 4 games. Wow, okay.
Oh.
Summon Night 6. Really? I don't know what to think about that. Alright, whatever. Good on them.
Okay. This guy was...
They are operating very under the radar, it looks like.
Well, that's kind of what... Well, Working Designs, you could say it kind of did that at the same time, but they were suddenly, you know, thrust out of the radar with the whole Bernie Stoller, like, feud, and then Sony, you know, doing that crap with them, and then, of course, you know, them going out of the way.
Yeah, but I would argue that Working Designs had a degree of notability just because of when they came around and what they were doing. Because, like, keep in mind, there weren't a lot of companies who were doing what they were trying to do when they were trying to do it. I mean, granted, they got their start on the TurboGrafx CD and then later on the Sega CD, so being front and center was not a big part of their career in general. But once they moved to the PlayStation, they got bigger. Not like Atlas now big, but Atlas like 5 years ago, 5 or 10 years ago big, for sure. And that was, I think, a big part of what ultimately caused them to collapse.
Yeah, they got big enough to the point where they were actually able to create a side label called Spaz Games that they were able to bring, like, non-RPG games over on.
Yeah, and it sucked just in general, like that they went out the way that they did. Yeah, Bernie Stoller killed the Saturn, pretty much. Mm-hmm. Although I feel like a lot of bad decisions killed the Saturn. Bernie Stoller absolutely did not fucking help at all.
No,
but
no, he didn't.
But the thing is like, Working Designs was still one of those, like, rogue indie developers of sorts, or publishers, I should say, rogue indie publishers, bringing stuff out that nobody else would. They would kind of match up to, like, a Nippon Ichi or an Exi, I think, today, without the direct tie-in to a parent company in Japan. Gaijin Works, based on everything that they've been associated with, though I do appreciate that they are directly considering their lineage to be associated to the games that were released by Working Designs on the PlayStation. That's cute, Vic. I see what you're doing. But outside of that, like, if you look at their things, it's been 3 Class of Heroes games and 2 Summon Night games. It's like, at this point, they are super under the radar. Like, below Nippon Ichi and Idea Factory in terms of, like, raw notability. And let's be clear. I'm not saying that like as a dig against them,
Watch this!
because I don't really have an opinion on the Summon Night games relative to their like quality or anything, but they have to be at least as good as some of the stuff that Idea Factory makes. I just think it's interesting that, again, I haven't played anything that they've made ever. And it's just that's kind of depressing, I think, to me.
Do I have to do this?
Probably.
Wait, hold on. Do I have extra memory cards? Slot 1 should be in slot 1. Or what the hell? There we go. Whee! There we go, the land dolphin again. Now, in terms of things that I don't like about this game, I would definitely say for some reason the combat just feels a little bit slower than what I'm used to on the Sega CD version.
I can understand that.
And some of the moves, like you'll see later on, I should be getting an attack on my next couple of level ups. They zoom in on it, and it moves so slow that it doesn't seem to have much of an impact when it does happen.
Yeah, I can kind of see that. I feel like it's a trade-off, but I don't dislike it. And I definitely do agree. I wish Working Designs had not gone under as well, predominantly because with the fact that companies like Atlas Exceed, Nipponichi, etc. have mostly gone toward publishing their own games. Atlas of 10, 15, 20 years ago was the company who would publish 1 or 2 Mega 10 games in a year and would spend the rest of the time bringing out random shit you had never seen before. We don't really have a Working Designs anymore. And there are a lot of reasons for that, but a lot of companies just have their own arm in the US that publishes their games. You know, Arc System Works games are predominantly published by Axis. Marvelous games are predominantly published by Exceed. Atlas to Atlas, NIS to NIS, Idea Factory to Idea Factory. You will see games published by the US branches of those companies that are not part of the Japanese development house, like, I want to say NIS presently has Falcom under their wing, and until Experience started publishing their own games, NIS had Experience, and Atlas is going to be releasing a game that was developed by a third party in Japan, the Caligula Effect, I believe it's called.
Interesting.
So it's still happening, but it's nowhere near where it was in the PlayStation era. And I kind of wish we had a Working Design style company who was just reaching out and grabbing all of that different shit and publishing it.
Yeah, I mean, to some degree, I mean, Exceed is kind of trying to fill that void to some small degree, but they seem to be mostly concentrating on, like, it looks like Nintendo platforms now at this point. I mean, they gave us the big three on the Nintendo Wii, as well as Xenoblade Chronicles X on the Wii U. So it seems, and not to mention porting games over on the 3DS. So it's like they don't seem
What? I, honest to Christ, don't know what you're talking about.
Can you hear me clearly, or did I break
I can
up?
hear you perfectly clearly. Are you sure that you're thinking of the right company?
You know what? I probably am not.
All right, let me look up Xenoblade Chronicles. You keep doing what you're doing.
Okay, I thought it was them that brought over.
They might have. They very well might have.
Because those games were made by Monolith Studios.
Nope, Nintendo published that in the U.S.
Which Chronicles X?
Yeah.
Okay. Then
but
who
they
published the
have
games?
been. What's that?
And who published the games on the Wii? Because Nintendo was just fighting to bring over Pandora's Tower and Xenoblade Chronicles and the other game I'm trying to think of.
Pandora's Tower might be one. Nope, Nintendo published that one as well, I think.
Wow.
Trying to see. Rainfall drew attention to it, but I think Xenoblade ultimately was handled by Nintendo. Pandora's Tower, I think, was done with a third party, but let's see. That one was Exi. I don't think they're focusing on Nintendo consoles by any stretch of the imagination, though. I mean, they've been developing a lot of stuff for publishing. I keep saying developing. They've been publishing a lot of stuff for the PC and PlayStation consoles. The Senran Kagura games, as an example.
Okay, yeah.
They had the Falcom games until just recently, and like that loss was basically their own decision. They were like, "There's just too much stuff coming out for us to deal with right now." PC has been a big focal point for them. PlayStation 4. I think out of the last year's worth of games that they've done, only one or two have been. Yeah, they did a version of Corpse Party for the Nintendo 3DS for some shit awful reason, and story. Look, I'm not going to get into it right now, but Corpse Party is a franchise that I went from loving to hating in record fucking time.
Oh, I remember.
That
the sequel came out, you were living.
Well, no, when the first sequel came out, I was fine. This most recent sequel, Blood Drive, I feel like Xseed needs to apologize for bringing that to the U.S. at this point. I really do. But anyway, not the point. The only games that they've brought out for the 3DS in the past year in general have been a 3DS version of Corpse Party and Story of Seasons, which is Harvest Moon, basically. Everything else has been Sony or PC. Senran Kagura, EDF, Xanadu Next, Nitro Plus Blasters, Fate Extella. They've been all over Sony consoles for the past year.
So then I'm thinking of some other company. Then it was an Xseed. I just for whatever reason, Xseed is the company that's just been popping in my head a lot lately.
Yeah, I mean they've had a few games that have come out on the Nintendo consoles, but they've been very heavily Sony and PC focused.
I like this guy right here. He is just so hilariously a zealot. In the name of the goddess Athena, I shall destroy the destroyer.
Yeah, you have fun with that, bro. Surely nothing will go wrong from doing that thing.
I want to know, is Hero adopted or something? Because, him and Grandpa don't look exactly alike.
I don't know if they actually get into that in this game.
Yeah, I think that's one of the big plot holes in this game that's just never touched upon in either version of the game whatsoever.
I don't really know that it's a plot hole, I just don't think that they cared. It wasn't a conversation they were especially invested in having, I guess.
Yeah. That was kind of like a standard thing in almost a lot of animes. There's always an orphan kid that was adopted by some weird-looking, elderly character or whatnot that was raised, and they don't really exactly explain it. They just want us to accept it.
That's fair.
I don't have time to act on a hunch, old man. If you don't know the way inside, I shall simply destroy the blue spire. That you know what? Please, go do that. That makes a lot of sense. And then yet, somehow, me and the old fart managed to get to the Blue Spire and meet Lucia long before he even shows up with that landwalker of his. Which, can go through mountains and shit.
It is what it is.
I wonder, in this version, did the working design see fit to keep in all the hilariously 1990s references in here, or did they remove those? Like, there was obvious Bill Clinton jokes and stuff like that.
Some of them were removed. The more obvious pop culture stuff was removed and replaced with different pop culture stuff.
Definitely showing that it's a game of its time. Granted, of course, I'm sure these references weren't even in the original Japanese translation, of course. But then somehow I have the feeling that they might have had their own form of pop culture references.
From the way Alex tells it, Game Arts was not super on board with the way Working Designs translated the games.
Yeah.
As far as like the pop culture references and whatnot are concerned, which, like, I mean, I don't blame them, so to say. I can totally understand why, if you were not, you know, like if that was not a thing you did in your game, why you might not necessarily be thrilled with it happening in your game when it's brought to the US or whatever.
Yeah.
But I have no way of validating if that is true beyond him saying it.
So one of the biggest changes in this game, I don't think I've ever touched on, is how they completely altered the save game and magic system. Here, it's more of a traditional, okay, you level up, you get a spell. The Sega CD version, you don't generally level up and just get spells. You actually accrue magic points that you spend, and you can either use it to save your game, or you can use it to buy magic, and then after that you'd have to grind a few battles to be able to have enough money to save your game. I think the original Japanese version, you were able to level up and get all your spells, and let's be truthfully honest, some of those spells are very OP, so I think this was Working Design's way of keeping the characters from getting too powerful too quickly. I don't know if that was officially stated, whatnot.
That was a change that Working Designs directly made to the game. I saw interviews about... I believe I actually have the strategy guide somewhere where they explain that. Give me 1 second to finish what I'm doing here, and I will see if I can turn that up. I know I have the strategy guide. I believe there is an interview in it.
Yeah, I have
about that.
Yeah, the nice little small book that's about yay thick. It's a pretty small book, but it's pretty thick with content.
Size queen.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, here we go. I have the fucking strategy guide for Vanguard Bandits. I don't know why.
I don't even have the game. That's one game I've been wanting to get for a while.
It's not worth it. I don't hate it, but it is not particularly good. Oh, where's the interviews?
Such nice, happy, cheerful music.
Yeah.
Look at that. We're already outran. We're already at the tower. We don't even get to another action zone. It's funny. Oh yeah, that's right. I have to fight one of these guys coming out of the tower with a weakened Lucia.
In Lunar 2, as in most RPGs, the player is awarded experience points, XP, when he wins a battle. The more XP a player earns, the stronger, smarter, and sexier his characters become. I appreciate that we were at a point when this guide was released where the default was assumed to be dudes playing the game. Now, 10 years later, we can't really make that assumption about JRPGs because, listen, everybody wants to fuck the main character of Persona 4, pretty much.
Yeah.
But the Sega CD version of Lunar 2 also awarded magic experience points that the player could apply to spells that they wanted. In other words, the player, not the game, chose which spells to improve. For example, if you wanted to boost Hero's Boomerang spell to level 99 while ignoring his other magic, you could, foolishly, do just that. This unusual and somewhat cool feature has been removed from the PlayStation version of Lunar 2. Now the player only earns normal XP, with new spells automatically added when the character reaches certain levels. We at Working Designs used the Magic XP to add what would become the Sega CD version's most controversial and unquestionably its most disliked feature. Quoting from the Sega CD instruction manual, the save feature was modified to add cost to each save. We've wanted to do something like this for a long time, and the experience system finally gave us the opportunity. We felt this would make the game more challenging by making you decide if a save was worth giving up valuable magic experience. In retrospect, it was much more annoying than challenging. The PlayStation version lets you save anywhere at any time with no cost other than a few seconds of memory card access time. In other words, magic experience was always the thing that was done in the game. They just chose to apply it to the save system, and nobody liked it.
Mm-hmm.
And to be fair, when it comes to a JRPG, I can't fathom what would have made them think, yeah, this is a good idea, let's do that. Because, like, JRPGs above and beyond anything else are literally the genre where the phrase save early, save often comes from. Because you can lose hours of progress if you eat a death, especially in 80s hard JRPGs. Like, that's just a bullshit idea in general. And I'm kind of not surprised that, you know, literally nobody liked it.
Yeah. So literally, the idea that they were just doing it to kill, you know, people from being able to create overpowered spells wasn't really there was no truth to that whatsoever. They were just doing it because, oh hey, we want to just do it.
Pretty much.
Yeah, that's a dick move. I actually thought there was some thought put behind it there, but essentially no, there wasn't.
Well, they put thought behind it. It's just they didn't think that it would be
controversial.
As controversial as it ended up being, let's say. Now,
I don't think I've ever looked into this, but was there any content that Working Designs decided to put into the game that was, like, exclusive, that you couldn't find in the Japanese version?
I don't think they specified as such.
Oh, I forgot they equipped a new knife.
There's a lot of stuff in the guide that talks about, like retro stuff from one version to the next.
Oh, so
but they don't really specify that they added in content or anything, so I couldn't say. That said, probably not. Just because Working Designs was really good at translating the language and whatnot, I don't think they would have been able to, like, you know, render sprites out of whole cloth.
Yeah, okay. Angel's Tear. That's a very handy spell. Right. Killed a little blob. man here with his club dealing out some big-time damage. Just doesn't move very far. But he can definitely take a chomp. Look at that, he sends it, he does a knockback attack, or a knockback ability. That's one of the things I've always liked about the Lunar franchise's combat systems, just how mobile it felt. Like, you actually were running around on a battlefield doing stuff, and you wouldn't really see anything like that ever happen again up until, say, the Grandia games and Skies of Arcadia.
Yeah.
That, and I like the fact that everything is animated in the game as well, in the enemies and all the sprites, as opposed to the more traditional like sprites in, like, let's say Final Fantasy, Dragon Warrior, well, even
earlier Mega 10 games.
Yeah, all just still sprites and no real motion. If anything, the attack, they just flashed the sprite. Yeah. So that's definitely one of the reasons why I was really I was really excited when I started playing this game. Oh wait, that's a switch. Forgot. Oh, I forgot to heal. I can do that. Old fart's good at that stuff.
I was gonna say, what do you do? Try not to die.
Yeah.
We've got to keep our strength up.
Oh dear God! Wow. Okay, I'm glad that wasn't in the Sing City version.
It wasn't bad.
We've got to keep our strength up. Now that was very fortunate right there. Like, I just dodged most of those attacks. Old man's gonna come over, club it to death. There we go. Woo!
I don't feel like clubbing a slime to death would be particularly effective, but what the fuck do I know?
Yeah, it doesn't do much in the D&D world, that's for damn sure. Hell, I think the slimes just absorb most of the weapons that hit them, right?
Oh, I don't remember. I haven't played D&D in forever. I'm just not really a fan of it in any case.
Yeah. You're more preferential to what other game?
World of Darkness, White Wolf.
Yeah, okay. I'm not too familiar with either of those. Or is that just one game?
It's the World of Darkness is the setting in which White Wolf games predominantly took place.
Okay.
So World of Darkness would be how you would refer to the setting. White Wolf is the name of the company, although Onyx Publishing, I think, owns it now.
Okay. Now, how does it normally play out?
Everything is done via 10-sided dice pretty much universally. So instead of, like, having, X amount of dice that do Y amount of things or whatever, like, Dungeons & Dragons has, like, they use, like, 4-sided dice, 6-sided dice, 8-sided dice, etc. Dependent upon the weaponry that you're using, your armor, and other factors. White Wolf, everything is done via 10-sided dice. Instead, you have pools of dice that you can use. It's also really worth noting that in White Wolf's games, like, weapons rarely have, like, distinguishing factors as such. So, like, you'd get, like, magic swords and D&D and whatnot, and they'd all change and improve the way that you did damage. In White Wolf, generally speaking, you are more likely to just do more damage via your strength or your dexterity or whatever. Which makes a certain amount of sense. Given the same sword, like, Arnold Schwarzenegger is going to swing it harder than
and do more damage than, like, me, for example.
Yeah. Now here's the first spell right here that pretty much has like no impact to it. Oh, he comes a little closer. Oh, nice.
Dodge this!
That looks so soft. I can't believe it actually killed. At least in the Sega CD version, when he comes down, he comes down real fast, and there's a nice big flash coming from the sword to, like, you know, add effect to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You go, Ruby. Yeah, you kill that slime. Alright, electric gate is down. Robot man, I forget. Oh wow, he just fucking flew at me. Forget it. I don't know if it's like in this game. I think you kill one of them, and I think the rest of them go too.
Maybe, I don't remember. It has been years since I've touched this game. That's
Yeah.
the other thing, like, Eternal Blue, and you can tell Eternal Blue is decidedly not the game that the fan base gives a shit about.
Yeah.
Because Silver Star Story has been translated and retranslated like 10 fucking times. Eternal Blue got the Sega CD and the PlayStation versions, and that's it.
Yep. Yeah, there was, let's see.
I mean, that's more than Dragon Song got, but to be fair, Dragon Song was a piece of shit, so fuck that game.
Well, Dragon Song has a good story. It's just the combat was horrendous in that game, and I don't understand why the director over at Game Art said, you know what, we're going to do it like this. I'm like, okay, you know, it would have been 10 times better if you gave us the ability to actually choose who we want to kill.
Well, you have to look at it from the perspective of, like, development houses change, people within development houses change. Like, look at Perfect Dark Zero versus Perfect Dark. Perfect Dark is widely considered to be, you know, one of the best first-person shooters ever made, and Perfect Dark Zero is.
Yeah.
Like, there's just no other way I can say it. It just isn't. And a lot of that ultimately comes down to the fact that, like, plain and simple, there just aren't people on board who know how to do what needed to be done for that game anymore, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the people who would have overseen that game and made it the success the original ones are gone at this point. So, you kind of just deal with what you're given, I suppose. And to be fair, I haven't been impressed by a Game Arts RPG in years at this point.
Not a fan of the Grandia games?
Not even a small bit.
I think the last good Grandia game really was 2 on the Dreamcast, and they even ported that to the PC or on Steam recently.
I feel like Grandia 2 was good at its time.
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't feel like it holds up particularly well, but for what it was the time that it came out, it was perfectly fine. Everything after 2, I think, is at best mediocre and at worst a garbage fire.
Grandia Extreme. I forget, what is this? Let's save before I even do something stupid.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea. Grandia Extreme was basically just Grandia's combat with less narrative and plot structure. I didn't hate it, but I didn't think anything particularly high of it. Grandia 3 was complete dog shit.
And then Grandia 4 or no, I'm thinking of Suikoden 4. For some reason, or is it okay, let's get this out of the way. Is it pronounced Suikoden or Suikoden? Or does it not really matter?
I don't fucking know. I have no clue. By the time, technologically, we got to a point as a society where that was a thing you could easily research, I had stopped caring about that franchise.
Yeah, it seems like everybody stopped caring about it after the second game.
No, a lot of people love the third and the fourth games, I want to say. But there's a decidedly devoted fan base for that particular game. I just don't happen to be a part of it. I played the third one and I thought it was pretty good for what it was, but
after the second one, I mostly stopped caring about the franchise. The thing is that 2 was one of those games that became retroactively notable because nobody really played 2 when it came out. And we know this because the game is worth an obscenely large amount of money on PSN.
Yep.
Or, I'm sorry, on the eBay.
But it is on PSN, however.
It's on PSN now, yeah. But at the time, nobody played it. 3 and 4, I think, are generally regarded as being solid. 5 is kind of where the franchise lost a lot of people, I think.
Mm-hmm. And
it's not bad, it's just not necessarily what people wanted.
I think people were also at the same time getting overwhelmed because the PlayStation 2 was getting a ton of RPGs, including RPGs that, just really did not need to be made, like Breath of Fire 5, Dragon Light, or whatever it's called.
Yeah, I was not a super big fan of that game. I didn't like the weird death mechanics to it, if I remember correctly.
And I have it downstairs. Yeah, Dragon Quarter. But I don't have it downstairs. I mean, I have it downstairs, but I haven't played it. I totally botched what I was trying to say there. Mine's all over the place. Hey, if I'm lucky, I might actually get out of the tower before tonight.
I mean, that would be nice.
That would be nice.
Yeah, this is a very grindy game.
It is. If I recall, the dungeons in this game are a lot bigger because again, like I said, there's no overworld or anything like that. So they replace them with action zones. In which case, and to make up for it, outside of just the action zones, they make the dungeons even bigger than they were in the original Sega CD version. Like right now, I think I only had to hit a couple switches, and boom, I was gonna cross the bridge to get to the tower to see Lucia. Alright, I think was it? I had to hit 4 of these. I don't remember.
Probably.
Okay. Mummy came after me. Here, let me just check something. Yeah, okay, good. I got 2 of those. Yeah.
That's another thing. I feel like this game kind of starts up slow in comparison to Lunar.
Oh yeah.
Like Lunar just kind of is like, like they give you enough backstory for you to understand where you're going and to get you hooked in those first couple of hours.
Mm-hmm.
Here it's less so, and we weren't quite at a point yet where you would start a game with like 2-3 hours of narrative.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Especially You Stay points out that Eternal Blue is also really similar to a Silver Star story, and I agree, and I think that's actually kind of the point.
I'm not exactly sure I see it that way, especially with how the narrative plays out in this game compared to the other one. I don't really see the similarities. I mean, it's not like, oh no, suddenly Galleon, who turns out to be an ally, becomes the main villain. We don't have anything like that going on in this game. We don't have a plot twist like that going on. The only plot twist we get is the fact that the goddess is not really the goddess, but a minion of Zophar to go out and extend his power through a false cult of the goddess.
I feel like the problem is that this feels like a Metal Gear Solid 2 version of Silver Star story. And I know that probably doesn't make sense, so allow me to explain. Metal Gear Solid 2's entire narrative is based around the idea that anybody can be turned into Solid Snake if they are put into the same position Solid Snake is put into. So, to that end, the whole story of Raiden is effectively that they put him into a position that is very similar to Solid Snake, and things don't go the way that they want them to pretty much from jump.
This game kind of feels like it's hitting a lot of the same core story beats without necessarily being the same game. Like, this is the thing. If you compare Persona 4 and Persona 3 to one another, there's not a huge amount of difference. They both use the same visual engine, they both use the same mechanical engine, and there are some plot points that are recycled between the two. You know, ice-based character starts out as your navigator, but eventually can't keep doing it, so you eventually have to get a brand new navigator, whereupon the ice-based navigator then becomes your cohort in battle, predominantly as a combat caster. And I really wish that it wasn't that fucking specific. And if they do it in fucking part 5, I'm going to shit. Like, on somebody from the development team. But, you know, those plot beats are repeated. But narratively, the games are dramatically different from one another, and structurally, there are more than enough changes to make them feel like different entities. In this game, it doesn't feel like that so much. A lot of the narrative beats do get repeated in a lot of cases. Like, you have the person who's supposed to ostensibly be your ally, but is secretly brainwashed by the bad guy in Athena in this game, and the mother who ran the temple in the other game. You have the person who hangs around with you for a while until you eventually get your party proper and then goes away. The character who is technically meant to be a direct representative of the goddess is mostly a non-combat healing style character. The main character has a dragon following them around.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of core story beats are repeated and redone, just in different ways. It feels like they liked the plot of what they did so much that they just, like, kind of like hulked it out like a pumpkin to, you know, like, just reuse it. And it's, let's be clear, I love Silver Star Story, but I didn't need to play that game again.
Well, they did do
and
a
I mean,
lot
like,
of...
you know, that works for Atlas. You know, you can keep doing the law-neutral chaos games back to back to back to back to back, and, you know, you'll make your money, but there still needs to be more variance to it than there is, I think.
Yeah. I do like the fact that they went on with the Silver Star Story, and with Complete, I think that was probably necessary, because they definitely changed a lot of the plot elements around that, you know, that just seemed kind of wonky in the first game. Like, I think they fleshed out Nash as a character more, with him and his intentions and all that stuff. Along with, I guess, the whole becoming a Dragon Knight thing as well.
I feel like the PlayStation remake of Silver Star Story did a much better job of conveying a lot of the stuff that they wanted to get across. I just don't feel like... I feel like this remake also does a good job of conveying what it needs to, and adding in stuff that needs to be added in. I don't necessarily feel that this game is the classic the original is. Like, and again, history kind of bears me out, because we have 10 different versions of the original game, and this is the only other version of Part 2 that exists.
Yeah. They didn't even bother doing, like, a port to the Game Boy Advance like they did with the first one. And I thought that was pretty good, but it became it was more of a traditional RPG, turn-based RPG than it was anything else.
Yeah, though I really have a soft spot in my heart for the Game Boy Advance version of the game. I really do.
I really enjoyed that. I'm not gonna lie, I really enjoyed it for what it was. There you go. Can't believe I was about to pass up a couple chests. But I might as well kill every enemy along the way and then just go back to the goddess statue. I believe that the goddess statue gets destroyed after I encounter Zophar, correct?
Dude, you're asking me about a game that's like 2 decades old. I don't know.
You don't remember. Yeah.
I remember, like, many of the core plot beats. I don't remember the minutia from battle to battle. The only game I can think of that I can remember, like, the minutia from one point to the next is, again, as we said the last time I was here, the original Phantasy Star.
You know what? I should probably do, like, a super game jam. And just finish the game all the way through. I mean, I made it, what, about a quarter of the way through the game when we last played? I mean, it's still not... It's a big game, but it's a game that doesn't take long to beat, correct?
I don't remember how... I never beat the remake, so I can't definitively comment on that. I would say that that's not completely outside of the realm of possibility, but I honestly don't remember.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, geez. That Crystal Knight thing can move pretty fast, just like the, Oh, God. Do I go after the gargoyle? Yeah, sure, why not? I have no choice. Thing just got up in my face. Oh, he's got a cannon. What the hell? No, sir. No, sir, thank you very much.
Dodge this!
Swings that sword around like a feather duster. So, out of as many of the Sega CD and Saturn or PlayStation games that Working Designs has brought over, how many do you think you've actually had a chance to play?
From Working Designs? Fuck. I did not play any of their games on the TurboGrafx CD. I never had access to a TurboGrafx CD at a time where it would have been cost effective to get both that and the games. And it's just not the highest game on my list when it comes to collecting old consoles. So, none of those. For the Sega CD, I played both the Lunars, but I did not own them. The Working Designs games I owned on the Sega CD were the other Working Designs games. Like, I didn't own Lunar, but I owned Vi. I didn't own Lunar Eternal Blue, but I owned Popsicle Man, you know?
Yeah, two of the more sought after games now at this day and age. I mean, both the Lunar games still ask for a pretty penny, but Vi and Popsicle Mail are practically up there just as much.
Yeah, I don't own them anymore, unfortunately, but I beat both of those games, and I'll be honest, I don't feel like any of them are better than Lunar the Silver Star story, but I would definitely say I feel like Vi is at least as good, if not a better game than Eternal Blue.
I kind of liked Vi, but the problem with Vi is that, now, we're talking about how this game is super grindy. Vi, oh my god, that game requires a lot of grinding. Not to mention a lot of money, not to mention saving money constantly. Because you always, every town you go to, you have to upgrade, otherwise the next boss battle you encounter is going to be a pain in your ass. I should probably go to get those chests.
Let's see, for the Saturn...
I think they only brought over a couple games, including Magic
6.
Knight
They
Ray
brought
Earth.
over more for Saturn than they brought over for the Sega CD, and as many as they brought over for TurboGrafx. I believe I played 5 of the 6 games that they brought out. I did not play, no, 4 of the 6. I did not play Iron Storm, and I did not play the Sega Ages package that they released. But I did play Albert Odyssey, I owned, and still actually do own Dragon Force. I played Magic Knight Ray Earth, and I played Shining Wisdom. Of those, Dragon Force is the only one that I can say, yes, this is like a thing that you need to play again in some capacity. The rest of them, eh.
Yeah, I actually, I enjoyed Albert Odyssey. It was pretty interesting. Again, that was one of those games. It was kind of like a comedy slash, it was an RPG with a lot of comedy elements to it, but then they littered it with tons of pop culture references.
Yeah. For the PlayStation, the only game of theirs that exists on the PlayStation that I have not played in any capacity is Elemental Gear Bowl.
I have not played that either. I don't even think I own that.
It's a light gun shooter. At the time that it came out, I did not have a light gun available to play it with. And since then, I never... It was not a game that was easily acquired after the fact.
We've got to keep our strength up!
Every other game, though,
No, every other game that they released, I've played and owned in some capacity. I still own Alundra, I still own Arc the Lad Collection, I still own both the Lunars. I played Raystorm and Ray Crisis, but they were never games I felt the need to own for whatever reason. I'm pretty sure I still own
Crisis.
I still own Thunder Force 5, and I still own Vanguard Bandits. And for the PlayStation 2, I played all 3 of the games they released.
I'm actually trying to remember what games did they release on the work. I have the PlayStation 2 version of Blind Grisser. What else did they release?
They did not release Long Reserve for the PS2.
No, what's the Growlancer?
Yeah, similar artwork, different stuff. The Growlancer package I have from them, as well as the sequel that was released by Atlas, which was just one game. Fuck you, Sony. So, you know, whatever. Gun Griffin Blaze and Stillfeed.
Oh yeah, I do have Stillfeed. I don't remember that being working designs, but
Yep.
okay.
I want to say it was the first 2 of the 3 games they released. Might have been after Gun Griffin Blaze, but I'm pretty sure.
Wasn't Gun Griffin also on the Sega Saturn, or am I thinking of a different mecha game?
Let's get out of here!
Maybe. Not in the U.S. They released a Gun Griffin game in the U.S. on Xbox, but not. There was one on the Saturn in Japan, not in the U.S. Oh wait, no. The original Gun Griffin did indeed come out in '96. I'm wrong.
Okay.
But let's see. April. Gun Griffin was okay. Gun Griffin was their first game. Stillfeed was their second game, and Growlancer was the final game.
Yeah, the final game. And I believe Working Designs was trying to bring over a Goman game as their next one, and it was canceled after, you know, again.
Well, they had a couple of games they were trying to get off the ground. Gomon was the only one that they could actually get Sony to sign off on and say yes. And then, if I remember correctly from the story, Vic Ireland told it on the website. I don't know if the website is still active at this point.
No, they're gone.
But at the time, the story is he basically explained it was they got to the point where it was like pretty much ready to go gold, and because Sony reserves the right to decline a game at any point in the process. At that point, Sony told them to fuck off. Like they wouldn't do that game. There was nothing that could be corrected. They just decided they did not want that game. And that killed Working Designs completely. They didn't have it. Sony could have told them in the beginning, we will not do a Goemon game, and they just wouldn't have picked it up. But instead, Sony said, yeah, we'll let you do that. They got all the way to the end of the process, paying for licensing, translation, and everything. And then they're like, no, we changed our mind. And yeah, it's you know, they just threw their whole fucking company out in one shot.
Dicks.
Oh, Sony has a long history of that shit. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
You own a fucking PlayStation, the same as I do.
Yeah, I know. But I got my PlayStation 2 after the fact.
You own a PlayStation 3 at the very least, same as I do.
Yeah. Sony. Yeah, and Sony did a whole lot of dickhole things during the PlayStation 3 era as well.
Yeah, like losing all of our data.
Oh yeah. Or making fun of Microsoft for their Wait, hold on. Did I just go in a circle?
Oh.
Okay, so So
the fucking map, Jesus Christ.
no, that's okay. It's been a while since I gone through the dungeon. Okay. Might come in handy. Stairs that go up somewhere. I forget.
He said about everything. This might come in handy. Well, obviously,
Yeah.
you found it in a dungeon and it has magical properties.
Yep.
It seems like the kind of kid who'd find a rock and be like, a rock! This might come in handy. Fuck off, dude. No idea what you're talking about.
Dodge this!
Should have just attacked from the beginning.
At least you saved.
Yep.
Heal! Heal!
That was a little more than you needed, I think.
Yeah, it was, definitely. And holy crap.
You gonna die, honky! We might actually make it out of this. I don't really feel like that was worth it, but okay.
Yeah. I was trying to run at the beginning of the battle because I just wanted to avoid it, but...
Yeah, Lunar Eternal Blue and Silver Star Story are both still great games, but they are still very much part of the Nintendo hard RPGs of the time. I'm trying to think when we got to the point where JRPGs actually became like fairly easy to just go straight through without having to grind.
I would say Final Fantasy II on the original Super Nintendo. Because...
What? No.
Because, no, here's what it is. You remember that Japanese version is harder than the US version. In fact, they re-released the US version in Japan and called it, like, Easy Mode or something.
Sure, but I mean consistently. One game does not a trend make, and by Final Fantasy 3/6, they had gone back to the same old standard of you needing to grind to get shit done.
Yeah. But it wasn't as much of a chore.
No, but it's like that might have been the first game to do it, but it wasn't like that wasn't the start of the trend of it happening. 10, I feel like 10 required you to grind to a certain extent too.
Yeah, especially with that insane steer grid system.
Yeah, fuck that thing.
And then the
7
people who
definitely
made what's that new RPG that action RPG that came out on Steam? Path of Exile decides to mimic it.
I feel like you can get away with that in a PC game or Western RPG/PC game more than you can Final Fantasy. But yeah, that was not one of not Black Isle. The fuck is the name that they're using now? Not Monolith. Obsidian. It was not one of Obsidian's better choices, I don't think. It was all the way through the PlayStation 2 era.
It was definitely because that's when a lot of the RPGs became more accessible, and they had a whole different like stockade of games. I mean, you still had your hardcore games like the Shin Megami and the Shadow Hearts games that were offering challenges, but then you still had the Final Fantasy games and the one Mana game that came out, and again the Suikoden, and there was a ton of RPGs that were just really accessible and that weren't super grindy.
I feel like Suikoden might have been like kind of grindy-ish, not as bad as 1 and 2 were, but 3 was eh. I feel like midway through the PlayStation 2 era is when JRPGs started becoming more immediately accessible to where like you didn't have to grind so much, just because like they started losing ground after the PlayStation era, and Western RPGs started becoming, not right away, but more of a thing that was potentially appealing to players conceptually.
Yeah, with the open world games now taking a foothold, especially with Morrowind coming out at the time during the PlayStation 2 era, giving people pretty much a teaser of what's coming up, and then you get Fable on the Xbox doing very well and being a really good game on top of that, and then with the Xbox 360 and PC games at the time like Oblivion, just really opening up the door for Western RPGs to take a really strong foothold.
I want to know where she got clothes.
They just magically appeared.
I want to know why she thinks she needs clothes. She showed up surrounded by nobody, butt naked in the middle of nowhere. Why do you think you needed clothing? Like, were there books? I feel like it would have been funnier if she'd showed up butt naked. Like, hi, I'm here to do this stuff. Put some fucking clothes on!
And it's funny because Hero, at the end of the epilogue, he goes to see her, and she's butt naked, and she's excited to see him butt naked, and he wraps her in his cape.
I feel like at that point, they had definitively established that they were going to fucking bone.
My name is Lucia. I have come from the Blue Star on an urgent mission. Your world is in grave
I actually
danger.
remember reading,
I
or what
must
was it?
see Athena
When it came with
immediately. Take me to her.
yeah, the complete edition of Lunar game, they had the extra disc,
Do you think she's
which actually had like
She
behind the
looks like
scenes
she
stuff
could be
and
some sort of goddess or
the
something.
director's take on the characters in the game. They're talking about Lucia's evolution as a character, how she becomes more human as the game evolves. Like here, she walks around naked with no shame or anything like that, and apparently midway through the game, she's at a hot spring, she's naked, Hero sees her, and she's like embarrassed or whatever. At the very end of the game, you know, she's extremely sad that she has to complete her mission and has to leave everybody and dicks over Hero and everybody else and blah blah blah. I would say she had a good character development. I just don't like her voice actor, which I think was actually just a member of the working design staff.
Hero? What's wrong with you? She's not
Almost
even
certainly.
human. Here, let me tuck your
I think
tongue
he
back
actually
into
said
your
that the
mouth
girl
and wipe
who,
the drool off your chin.
Ouch! Knock it off!
Ruby, you fucking jealous little bitch. I must find Athena and join her to fight Zophar. I like how very stubborn she is for the good quarter portion of the game in order just to reach Athena, like that she'll leave the party a couple times just to complete her mission, even though she knows she's weak as shit after she encounters Zophar.
Yeah, zealotry is not an appealing character trait to my mind, but that's a couple of characters in this game, to be honest.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we already encountered what's-his-face with the horn on the head. I forget his name.
Yeah, he eventually corrects that.
Oh, yeah. And we get to drive around in his little Land Rover.
Hmm.
She has the ability to teleport, so why doesn't she,
I think it's only outside of this place.
No, outside of this place she can't teleport places?
No.
Well, then again, we don't know that because she gets her powers zapped away by Zophar. So I guess we couldn't figure that or find out for ourselves.
That's true. It's very possible that she might be, like, super absurdly overpowered, and we have no idea.
Well, we do get to see a taste of her power as we leave the game, because, you know, she'll kill everything on the way out. So, as we're going to see now, as we go through the game, it's like an epic cock tease, and it kind of pisses me off. Like, oh, hey, this character's super powerful. Like, here we go.
I don't hate the way the game does this. There are games that have definitely done this idea worse.
Mm-hmm.
Do not interfere.
I kind of wish that as a character she had, like, she had gotten better relatively by the end. Like, significantly so. But it is what it is.
I do like the final battle with Zophar in this game. It's actually a 3-part boss battle, which is pretty much par for the course for RPGs back in the 90s. Although I do have to say Kefka was the one exception that I can think of. Xemnas, maybe, he was only 2 parts, but his first form was relatively easy to destroy. Or did I say I said Xemnas, right?
Yeah.
Okay. For some reason I'm thinking Zophar. I thought I said Zophar, but I could be wrong. I might as well take advantage of her power and level up, maybe once or twice.
Do not interfere.
Got some criticals in there. I forget, was 900 the max amount of damage you can do in this game? Because I know it did a lot of 3 digits.
I'm pretty sure 9.99 is the highest you could do. Yeah.
Yeah. Imagine how much everybody freaked the shit out or lost their shit when Final Fantasy VIII. You had the I forget what the ultimate summon was, but it was the first. It was the only summon in the game up until maybe Final Fantasy X that allowed you to break the 9999 damage marker after pumping it up, of course. I don't remember the name of the summon. I can't remember what it's called.
I don't remember the particular summon you were speaking of, but I also don't remember that being a conversation anybody was having, so, you know.
Well, it was back when Final Fantasy VIII first came out. I mean, it's
Right.
a game that I would like to forget about, to be truthfully honest.
I know a lot of people hate that game's plot. I don't hate its plot at all. I just hate its magic system.
I hate its magic system as well. And the leveling system in that game is just completely asinine. It's like, why even bother leveling up? If bosses don't give you EXP, everything gives you the same amount of EXP in order to level up. And hell, you can beat the game at like level 20. So like, what's the purpose of even grinding?
Do not interfere.
I remember her having some kind of meteor attack. Not the plasma one, but like an actual meteor attack. I just don't remember if it's in this game or not, or if I'm thinking of something else.
Do not
She's got lucky
interfere.
777 health. I remember that mechanic in most of the Final Fantasy games, right?
I remember Setzer in 6 and, what's his name in 7? Ket Sith.
Kate Sith, yeah.
Fuck him. Fuck Reed. Reed's a piece of shit.
Do not interfere.
Wow, she missed that guy.
I mean, you're not going to hit everything 100%, I suppose.
He was probably outside the zone. Like, some spells have, like, area of effect, and I guess he was just outside of it. Alright, down the stairs we go. The dash button is kind of awkward in this game.
I feel like there's a lot of things you can say that about in the game that apply. The dialogue is kind of awkward in this game. Voice acting is kind of awkward in this game, etc., etc., etc.
It's just a very awkward game, but at the same time, for me, it seems to be a very satisfying game. Not many
I
RPGs
can understand
you
that.
can say that about.
I can understand that. Again, for me, it's fine. It's just not the game its predecessor was. But I mean, that's okay. There are a lot of games that aren't the game Lunar was. They're still completely good, reasonable experiences.
Yeah. Trying to think if level 10 was a good enough level to be in order to beat the statue at the entrance of the temple. I can't remember.
I mean, you're gonna find out.
Yeah.
Either you're gonna win or it's gonna kick your fucking dick in.
Do not
There's really no real middle ground there.
I can't get over the fact that this dude called himself Gwyn.
I mean, it's his name.
I don't know, but that distinctively sounds more like a
Do not interfere.
Gwyn.
You're thinking of Gwen, G-W-E-N.
Yeah, but still, I mean, a Y easily pronounceable as an E.
I mean, sure, but he old. He don't give a fuck.
He got elf ears, yeah.
My mom was friends with a woman named Steven.
I can see that.
Shit happens, man.
Do not interfere.
Hey, that's not nice. One of the going back to the thing where I said spells and attacks don't seem to have much impact. Yeah, you can even feel it when you're when Lucia keeps using her magic. Like, I don't feel the impact. One of the things I remember when she would do some spells, like the game would slow down, and for some reason that made it feel more epic when her spells were being cast.
So because the technology advanced, the game doesn't feel as epic. Okay.
No, I'm
I
not
get where you're
saying
coming
that.
from, but
I mean, no. I mean, it like the slowdown for whatever reason made the spell look better. But it's again like because I'm not seeing particular certain effects going on, like moment of impact for certain attacks. It just doesn't seem to have the same oomph like it did in the Sega CD version.
With it, but
It's nice and a lot more colorful, but it doesn't seem to have, it doesn't look like it hits hard.
yeah, I get what you're saying.
Let's see. Working design games that I have played. I have yet to play Popple Mail. I own Vi, Lunar, and Lunar 2 on the Sega CD. I have Ray Crisis. I have this, Arc the Lad, and Lunar Silver Star Complete. I don't think I actually own any working design game on Sega Saturn. I wanted to get Magic Knight Ray Earth, but when that game came out at the end of the system's lifespan, you could just say forget about it because that game was gone, and people were selling it on eBay for already astronomical prices.
My friend Joel ended up getting it, and he let me play it.
How is it in regards? I'm assuming it's an action RPG.
Yes. I mean, it's fine. It's not Zelda, even though it kind of is presented from a similar perspective. I mean, it's based on an anime that at the time was notable-ish, but has since been eclipsed by other better anime. So, that's pretty much everything that you can say about it. It is as notable a game as the anime was an anime.
Yeah.
At the time, it was something people might care about. Now, there's just so much out that is like way better than it that like it's really only notable for historical curiosity's sake. I don't hate it.
I have played the a translated version of the Super Nintendo version, which was more of an hardcore RPG in the vein of like Breath of Fire, which was pretty good. It was enjoyable for what I did play, and then I lost my save file. I think I was.
Yeah, I never understood. Like, I know, like, in general, JRPGs are obviously more popular in Japan than they are in the US, but I never understood stuff like Ray Earth and Sailor Moon getting these, like, uber Nintendo hard RPGs.
Mm-hmm. But then again, you look at something like Sailor Moon, and it not only got a super hard RPG, it also got a fighting game and a side-scrolling beat-em-up to go with it.
I believe multiple beat-em-ups, actually.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I really kind of wonder if they knew what the fan base for Sailor Moon actually was at that point, and just, like, nobody wanted to say anything.
I think there were more guy fans than there were girl fans of the franchise.
Well, yeah, but I don't know. I feel like that's maybe not necessarily a thing that they were super into having a conversation about at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But who knows?
But then, perhaps the evil hides it from my sight.
I like it. They at least don't even attempt to match the words to the lips.
Well, back in the day, that was pretty much like not going to be possible.
But at the same time, though, I mean, you got anime studios that were bringing stuff over, like Manga Core and ADV and all them stuff, and everybody was always trying to match word to lips in those early '90s animes. It wasn't until like the 2000s that people just stopped giving a fuck and they just talked.
Yeah, the problem is that like a lot of that stuff, you weren't gonna match it unless the dialogue was either changed dramatically or was just like really hacked up. I feel like we've done a lot better with realizing that yeah, that shit doesn't really need to match up super hard.
Speaking of voice acting, this guy is hilarious.
I'm just not a fan of this character in general.
It can't be.
Especially how he appears at the very end of the game. He sounds like the most badass boss of all time, and then when you meet him, he's this kind of girly-looking man with very effeminate features. What did you call him? A Bishonen?
Shonen, yeah.
Yeah.
I really don't like the fact that Galleon in the original game makes things very, very personal. Like, we have a direct personal connection to Galleon, and we have direct personal reasons for wanting to see his plan fail, beyond the whole save the world deal. Here,
what have you done with Althena?
Zophar is a disembodied voice threatening you. And you're given very little direct personal connection to him. Like, they're trying to do the Phantasy Star thing, where, you know, Lassic is the bad guy, but Dark Force controls Lassic. But the difference between how Phantasy Star did it and this game does it is Phantasy Star made Lassic the goal all the way through the game to the very end. When you beat Lassic, you go back to the mayor's mansion, and then you find out, oh shit, Dark Force.
Yeah, but they even teased Dark Force a couple times, though, at least.
Right, but they never come out and say them in a way that, you know, it's oh, this is a thing that's going to happen. Like, you're given indication that more is going on, but because it was an 80s RPG, like, they don't get into all of the whining and the hemming and the hawing and shit.
Oh, yeah. Some of the things that this game does, like, there's the backstory for Zophar is that he's apparently some evil being that Athena sealed away years and aeons ago, and he manages to set himself free by, you know, kind of like, again, they steal, I guess, ideas from the Phantasy Star series, where the main villain of the entire franchise is actually the Profound Darkness. And every so 1,000 years, the Profound Darkness has a small window of opportunity to go and send an entity out to increase its power, which is, you know, Dark Vaults. Here, Zophar is using the cult of Luna, or Althena, to increase his power by having them worship him in his little cult that he is using.
Yeah, but they do a better job of it in Phantasy Stars 4 as well.
Oh, yeah.
Partly because Phantasy Star 4 has at least 2 other games of building up Dark Force as being an important non-speaking entity, so that when you're actually encountering Dark Force, and then you're, like, repeatedly, Dark Force acts as a direct antagonist. So you're consistently dealing with Dark Force in a way that makes that memorable. Further, dealing, like, the way in which they choose to position Dark Force and what Dark Force is doing gives it, like, a unifying threat. Here, it's Zophar is in control of everything, but you're never really given the opportunity to give all that much of a shit about Zophar as a character.
Yeah, they don't really do anything. He doesn't do anything outside of taking Lucia's powers away.
Pretty much.
And that's about it. Hell, I think Borgin has more of an impact on the game than Zophar did, really. Wow, it's actually been that long since I saved. Alright, here we go, boss battle. You know what, I'm gonna save because I don't want to, in case I die, I don't want to have to deal with that dialogue again. go. Boss battle. Boss battle. Woo! Hopefully I have enough strength to take him out. Why is he flashing? Oh, wait. That's supposed to... I guess that means he's ready to use his attack. Oh, that's right. He's upping his attack.
Dodge this!
Take that, you hellish freak!
Take that, you hellish freak. Okay, I love this guy that much more now.
Dodge this!
Take that, you hellish freak!
Damn. That's quite a lot of damage there.
Dodge this!
Motherfucker. Thought I'd have a chance to heal him, but I guess not. Guess I'm gonna have to rely on items real quick.
Heal!
That works out. I like that. That's a good decision right there.
Thanks for not killing the old guy. Giant boss monster. I appreciate that.
Exactly. I appreciate that a lot. And he's going to, this will give me a chance to,
Dodge this!
We've got to keep our strength up!
bring that defense down just a little bit more to do some more damage.
Take this, infidel!
Infidel, okay.
I mean,
Sure, why not, right?
I guess.
Dodge this!
And there he goes. Yep.
This game is grinding.
It is. Jesus Christ. Thank you, Lucia. Please do that. Please put yourself in harm's way.
I think the point is she's trying to escape.
I know.
Heal!
In the event that the monster decides to attack Hero instead. That works.
We've got to keep our strength up!
It's not like she's going to be useful for any stretch of the time until I get to the next town.
Dodge this!
Hoo-ah!
Yeah, I do remember boss battles in this game just taking a long time to do. Regardless.
Yeah. It was that way in the first game, too.
And,
Dodge
well,
this!
our old RPGs were like that back in the day anyway. Like, any good RPG worth its salt would have nice long boss battles to keep you on edge. Whereas nowadays, a boss battle, it keeps you on edge because the bosses are just so overpowered, but the battles don't last as long. Holy shit, that was glowing red and it took everybody out. Fuck. Oh well, I guess I just venture forth. Keep trying to kill him.
Dodge this!
Lucky me.
We should probably play games where 90% of the focus isn't on grinding.
Yeah, that's a good idea, to be truthfully honest. Now to make my escape. And to be cornered by, like, 6 more of those monsters.
I mean, yeah.
Wait, what the hell? Oh, that's right, there's more monsters. I might want to go do this first.
Whatever you do, try not to die. That would break my fucking heart.
Let's make sure everybody healed up. Yep, Lucia's still at 1 point. That's the important part of this. I can take on a few enemies on my way out. I mean, they're pretty much easy pickings at this point. Hey, what's up? How's it going? We were just talking about that earlier.
Yeah, I don't really feel like it would be feasible at this point for them to do that, honestly.
Dodge this!
Not even really sure who would own the rights to do anything with that.
Sneezing a lot lately. Vic Ireland, yeah, he most likely does have it.
I must see Athena as soon as possible.
He probably has, like, the rights, like, in a drawer in a desk somewhere in his basement. Completely forgot about it. Motherfucker. Oh, whatever. I guess I can get more EXP killing all of them individually. Instead of just killing the one and then they all die. Bye, Lucia.
And then he immediately kills Lucia, which was going to happen, let's be honest.
Yeah. Especially with the way he was going after her right off the bat. Now to make my escape when Leo shows up with the This is a no-win scenario. There's nothing I can do at this point. I forget if it's scripted or if he actually shows up in the middle of the, or shows up at the end of the fight. Yeah, he shows up right now. Here we go. Here's the best part. He's waiting for the destroyer, and he's just like, oh, wait, it can't be this girl with blue hair who looks sick as hell. Just let her through. Dubious to the very end. What was the name of the knight in Monty Python Search for the Holy Grail who charges the castle to rescue the maiden, but it's actually the prince that sends out that note for help?
Oh, I don't remember.
Yeah, Leo kind of reminds me of that guy, the white knight. Charging blindly into the situation without really thinking things through. Alright, so healed up, saved my game, and I think I shall call it a night at this point. I do have to get up rather early. We're about a few minutes away, so thanks for people for popping in and watching. And please don't remind people about Dragon Song. So anyway, next week we'll have another GVN Live on Monday. Tomorrow night is another stream for Three Vets and a New Phantasy Star Online Blue Burst Gaming. Next Game Jam will be next Wednesday. Should be my friend Todd coming over. Hopefully he manages to find time. If not, then I'll have to find somebody else to fill in at the last second. Mark, thank you very much for joining me tonight.
Oh, thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely.
And again, I should be streaming probably next Saturday, probably here on Twitch at, the fuck's my username?
Are you going to actually...
DHGF Mark B.
You're going to return to Twitch?
I might. I'm going to give it a try and see how it works. If it works, great. If it doesn't, because like I'm physically in a new place, so it might actually make it work properly. I don't know. We'll see. All I know is, if it works, I will be very, very happy. If it doesn't, I won't be surprised.
All right. So thank you very much. I really enjoyed what we were doing the whole show. I wish more of my Game Jam shows were like this, like extremely informative about like the game and stuff surrounding it. I really appreciate that, Mark. Thank you very much.
Oh, not a problem. I mean, we're both old, so
yeah,
we have a well of information to draw on as such.
Absolutely, and some of the people who do usually show up on my show are rather young, to be truthfully honest. So anyway, thank you guys for watching. Next show is tomorrow at 9 p.m. Pretty much all my shows are on at 9 p.m. You can check out the website for the schedule at GamingVisionNetwork.com. Not much more else I can talk about here. So thank you all for watching and have a good night.